The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Saturdays or Sundays, SOR Media, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this broadcast or podcast without the express written consent of SOR Media is strictly prohibited. Listener discretion is advised. Are you experienced? Then come own the night with us.
Little brother has taken control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all
Station atop the mountains of British Columbia, live from SOR headquarters. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong.
You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, and on Spaced Out Radio on iTunes. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR, on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio.
Brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye with the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride on Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We will expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized.
It's Wednesday, February 7th, Thursday, February 8th, if you're on the East Coast or across the pond, and this is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a great day and night. I am your host, Dave Scott, live from the Great White North. Snowed in the Caribou region on top of the mountains of central British Columbia at SOR headquarters. We are 150,000 strong nightly on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. We're also live at spacedoutradio.com, Spreaker, The Fringe FM, and if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to make that revolution.radio and donate today. Now, we're all over social media. You can find us live right now on periscope.tv. We're on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, you can follow me at Dave Scott SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio. Listen to us on iHeartRadio in the USA to TalkStream Live. Tune us in on TuneIn. Download and subscribe to our shows on iTunes. Of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. Now, if you want to help us out, we are building a brand new facility here at SOR headquarters. We need to go more terrestrial, so we ask you to join us by going to GoFundMe.com/We Own the Night. That's GoFundMe.com/We Own the Night. if you want to help us out. Now, if you head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, you can go to our Spaced Out Radio store, do a little shopping, read up on the Encounter Online, dealing with everything paranormal, strange, and odd. You can check out my latest blog as well. We also got great videos from Tim Doyle and UFO Seekers, Leslie Mitchell Clark's Contact TV, and so much more. To most of us, the idea of zombies or vampires is left with Hollywood movies or comic books. It's a sci-fi thought that most of us would only talk about in front of a campfire with a bunch of scary stories going around. However, there are many out there who feel that this is a true topic of discussion. Just think about it. Those who practice voodoo are very much in belief zombies are real. Graves have cages over coffins just so the zombies can't get out. And there's an entire underground movement of vampires who love the taste of blood. Jackie Chin is an author, psychic medium, a vampire with the fangs to prove it, and she has a highly successful radio show called Zombiepalooza Radio. Jackie comes in to tell her stories about how the strange occult of life has really defined who she is. Jackie, I'm so thankful because in reality, this is the first time in like 2.5 years that you and I have known each other that we've actually got together on this show to talk about what you do. I'm very happy with that.
I'm like totally and completely amazed that this is actually happening right now. 2.5 years. It seems like it's gone pretty quick.
I know. It is so much fun, and and I can honestly say, for people who are listeners who haven't heard of you before, Jackie is an extremely talented radio host. She's a very knowledgeable person in this field, and she works tirelessly, all with raising a family and taking care of her husband, and as she is a very committed person to her personal life as well. Where do you find the time, Jackie?
Well, the time to be able to do this, you make time for things that are very important. And part of the reason why this show, Zombiepalooza Radio, that I've been a part of for the past 5 years now, started was because my husband had an emotional post-traumatic stress disorder event that was absolutely off the chart. And the children were starting to ask what was going on with him, because he was acting very much different than what they're accustomed to, and not being able to engage properly. They kind of like felt like they were on the outside looking in, and they were really worried.
So when you sit there and talk about a lot of these different topics that you do, how did you get involved with this field? Because, let's face it, not everybody grows up wanting to discuss zombies or wants to be a vampire. There's a backstory to my vampire personality that is part of the radio show, but the first part of it with the zombies, I'm going to tell you, back 5 years ago, if you would have told me, hey, you're going to be doing this show, it's based on apocalyptic work, and you're going to be doing it for the next 5 years, and people are really going to enjoy it, I would have been like, you got to be kidding me. When I first started that particular show, I was doing another show. I was doing a show called Practical Paranormal. And it was just a 2-hour show, and we would talk about paranormal events and other things that were surrounding in that particular field. And when my husband had this event, I thought, I got to do something to be able to bring him closer to his friends. And by that I mean he had a lot of acquaintances on Facebook that were very much involved in these apocalyptic writings and films and all history, all of that kind of thing. And he really
when he would engage with these people, I would see that he would be more lively. And so I said to my producer at the time, I said, I'm thinking about doing just a 2-hour show, bringing together my husband and friends that he has met through the internet, and letting them just have a chat and see how it goes. And he was kind of like, my producer Derek was kind of like, well, I don't know, but yeah, well, let's see how this goes. So I got in there, sent out invitations, talked to as many people as I possibly could, and we put together an audio only of this particular show. And the response that we had was amazing. We did have a chat room that was paired along with the event, and the chat room was packed. And we had people that I didn't even invite, that I had no idea were interested in this particular topic, and they loved it. There was a lot of interaction, and my husband was really pleased with what had happened. Now, what I had found out after I sat down and thought about this 2-hour event was that the audio was really, really important. Even though he couldn't see them, he could hear them. And it gave him a sense of unity and belonging that I later on down the line, after doing the show for so long, found out that there is a huge community of people who are veterans, and they're also involved in very, very high-risk kinds of environments where they put their lives on the line, like the police force and firemen and people like that, and they were very interested in this particular topic.
How did you become involved with this? So, do you really believe that zombies and vampires are real?
So the belief and understanding about what zombies are, I do believe that there are viruses out there, and there are a number of viruses that are within the animal kingdom that cause animals like ants and deer to act very oddly, almost like, the lights are on, but there's absolutely nobody home. There is a point where I think that if that particular virus goes and evolves, that it could jump from an animal to a human, and then we could have the beginnings of a zombie apocalypse. Now, before I gave you the version of how I did this for my husband, I will tell you up front, I didn't like zombies. I didn't think that there was any value in it, except that it was brain candy, and it made my husband happy. He has books, he has videos, now he has chat rooms and all of this other kind of fun stuff, and it's all surrounded around this apocalyptic work. And at first I thought, well, what the heck is this about? All this is like doom and gloom, and just it's ridiculous. But there are so many people out there that thrive in these particular fields where they can have a place to be able to bond with a group out there, whereas maybe before they were standing on the outside looking in. So back to my whether or not I believe this could happen, there is possibilities that it could happen. Do I believe it's going to happen tomorrow or in my lifetime? I don't think so.
Is this something that you decided to make a mantra of your life to try and figure out what is going on, or was this something that you kind of fell into?
Well, I kind of fell into it in the beginning because I was working on, like I said, trying to make a person in my life that was very important to me feel more connected. But as I started going along, it did, I guess, eventually take over my life, and it was more like a mantra, yes. In the odd sense of the word, because zombies are all about death and decay and all of that other kind of thing that really no real sane person, I guess, would want to gravitate towards. But there is benefit in having these particular avenues to be able to go to as a creative force, because it takes us out of what is going on in the world right now. And there's a lot of cool things, but there's a lot of other really horrible things that are happening. And if it allows for someone to be able to have some sense of peace of mind for a little bit, and they can take themselves out of what their reality is and put themselves into something that is make-believe, then there's extreme value in that.
Jackie, we're going to focus on both topics tonight individually as we go on, because we have you for the first 2 hours, and then in hour number 3, we'll open up the phone lines to everyone out there just to kind of get their thoughts on this as well as other topics that you may want to talk about. But
thank you.
But when you are going through this, are you meeting a lot of people who claim to have these experiences? Because when I'm all over social media, I see a lot of aliens, I see a lot of cryptids, I see a lot of ghosts and paranormal, but rarely do I see people who say they have been infected with some sort of zombie virus or, are true vampires. Why is this such a hidden topic still in your mind? I mean, it had its play a couple of years ago, but now it seems to have died off.
I think with everything, they say there's nothing new under the sun. Zombies, back in the 1920s, there was a film called White Zombie, and it was more of a Haitian kind of mind control, and it evolved up to what it is today. I mean, we have like shows like Fear the Walking Dead and The Walking Dead. I think that as each generation passes, we have our own version of zombies. It's the same that was towards vampires. Now, do I believe I'm an actual vampire? Well, no, but my persona that I have on the show is that I am a vampire who is a zombie hunter. And I have a whole entire backstory for all of the things that are very integral to the zombie show. And so I guess, it has evolved. I think it's always going to be there.
What about with vampires, though? I mean, this seems to be so underground with everything.
There is yeah.
I mean, I remember in the late 90s, early 2000s, there were all these, you watch shows like Entertainment Tonight or Inside Edition, where they'd go into these dark, cavernous nightclubs where people would be feeding off of zombie blood or vampire blood because it was kind of the popular and trendy thing to do. Has that kind of died off, Jackie, or is it still have its underground, following?
I do believe that it still has its underground following. There is always going to be this very cultish essence of what the vampiric is. And there are a lot of people out there that really do go and they drink blood and they prepare it in a particular way, and they, I guess they would call it sanitize it, and then they do a ritual. I'm not one to do that because I don't, first of all, I don't know where that came from, and if I were going to drink a blood, I would prefer a synthetic. There are also a lot of things about vampires that are very, very much misunderstood. There are people that are born in a particular manner, and their skin is very pale, and they have blood issues. And for them, their release is to gravitate towards the vampiric because it makes them feel like they're a part of something that's bigger than they are. And it's a comfort zone.
Well, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with vampires? Do you want to start with zombies? Or do you want to get into your life? Because you actually wrote a book recently about your own psychic ability and everything that you have kind of gone through with those experiences. What would you like to start off with?
I can start with the book if you'd like.
Let's go there then.
Sure. You were very interested in the cover, as I recall.
Yes, I was. Because, and I have to tell you, we get a lot of people on this show who, are very intelligent and intuitive. However, with intuition, it always kind of sits up. Everybody is kind of different. Nobody is, you have some who are weaker, you have some who are way more powerful. What made you decide that you needed to write about your own abilities?
Because I saw so much new age junk out there that I got to the point where I was like, can't I find something that has no bells and whistles to it? It's just very practically laid out and understanding in its language, and it doesn't give a lot of curveballs. It's just explains the essence of what this is. And I decided about 10 years ago, believe it or not, it's about how long this thing actually took to get put together, to start writing down some of my experiences that I was working with clients. I also did another work just completely, totally based in energy work with a field called Reiki. And I based that particular book on the same thing because there was so much junk out there about the subject. And when I go and I teach, or if I work with someone one-on-one, I want to make sure that they have everything that they need, that it's in plain English, and they don't have to go out and spend a ton of money to be able to get what they need for their personal growth. And I also tell them that when I'm working with them, that I try to be able to prepare everything that I possibly can before I sit down with them, so they have a plan of action of what I'm going to start with and how I'm going to finish, and to make sure that they are satisfied with everything at each point. And I'll check with them, and I'll ask them, does this make sense to you? Do I need to explain anything clearer? And the whole idea is that, there's like 7 billion people on this planet. And if I can help one and get them to understand how to help themselves, then I can move on to somebody else. And that's really what I base my practice on.
Well, let me ask you this then. When did you start noticing your own abilities and that you had these gifts?
Everybody starts with especially in this subject, well, when I was knee-high to a grasshopper, I realized I could see ghosts. I could see things that were, I guess, unseen to the regular eye at a very, very early age. I believe that everybody is born with this ability. I also have a theory about why young people can see more clearly than people who are, say, in their 20s or 30s. I think it has something to do with the way that the eye is formed. And because things are still kind of getting into their own place, and of course your brain is still growing at a rapid rate, I think that there is more of a ability to be able to see into the infrared. Now, as we grow older, we need to have special glasses to be able to see into that infrared, or it's the night vision, to be able to see at that level. But I think children are able to do it more readily because, like I said, the way that their eye is formed. So I was able to see, and I started really noticing things that were different when I was about 5 years old. And I have a grandmother at that particular time who I could go and I could talk to. I could talk to her about anything. And I would tell her when we would have our visits, because my parents would drop me off, and so I would be able to be with her for a couple of hours. And I would just talk to her. And she would tell me different kinds of things about what I was seeing so that it made sense and it didn't scare me. And it's not to say that I didn't see anything that terrified me, because I used to have horrible dreams. But for the most part, she was able to kind of walk me through the process. I had other people in my life that if I even mentioned something like what I was seeing, they would immediately try to take me to a priest and have me sit down and talk with them for a while, because they believe that that ability to be able to do that, to see beyond the physical, was something that was not Catholic. Yeah. And so there were some odd conversations that I would have. And so I learned as I grew older who I could talk to and who I had to be quiet with.
But that is something that is such a familiar story, and I'm not trying to denounce yours, but I mean, I know from what I do, even doing this show, which is not even really involving intuition or anything along those lines, I've lost so much, and I think all of us in this field, one way or another, have lost loved ones due to religious beliefs, due to, five senses beliefs, people who can't see around the outside of the five senses, and I believe it's something that is very dangerous in regards to the way people treat all of us. How did you build up the strength in order to be able to be who you are?
I had a lot of different kinds of things that I was dealing with when I was a young person. There was a lot of abuse in my home, geared towards myself, and I spent a lot of time, I guess, separating my reality, I guess, and allowing myself to go more into this ability to be able to help myself not end up, I guess, crazy. And for a lot of people that I've worked with who have the ability to be able to do psychic work, they have told me that there was either a long period of time of abuse against them, or that they went through some form of that. Now, I was getting the abuse at home, and when I would go to school, I was bullied because I was I was very smart. And the kids I went to school with, they didn't like the fact that I was a skinny, little geeky kind of kid who wore glasses, and I didn't dress like they did because my parents were poor. And so I was separated. But I did have a couple of friends that were in school that I was able to, as I say, play with my abilities. I learned that I could take a deck of cards, and I could read the colors of the cards just by touching them. And then after a while, I learned how to do the numbers and then the suits. And there were lots of other different kinds of experiments. And I would get books from the library, and I would read about stuff that I wanted to be able to expand my knowledge on. And I didn't really think of it as anything that was scary or anything like that. It was just part of who I started to become. And I was gifted with a couple of friends that kind of were traveling down the same path.
So when you started as an adult to get in touch with who you are, and you're starting to figure out this whole life plan that you've been put up, that you are a little bit different than everybody else, how did you go about adjusting to the way society treats people? I mean, you mentioned that your family was a little tough on you, and the religious aspect of that. Were they Catholic? Were they,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So that obviously explains that whole part to it. Now, I'm very curious. I'm very curious in regards to, how you built up your strength to say, you know what, this is who I am. This is the ability God gave me, or whatever you believe in, gave you.
I'm going to tell you, that didn't happen until I was way into my mid-30s. Because I still had that Catholic upbringing raging in the back of my head, going, you really shouldn't be doing this. Maybe this really is something that isn't right. And then I think it was about 32, and I went to a church because I belonged to an evangelical church at that time. And I went to the church and I talked with the pastor, and they said, look, I can generate a lot of heat from my hands. And I know that there are people that are out there that have the ability of healing. And, we read in the Bible, in the books that we that have, that it said that Christ said, I can do this and you can do this too. And that there isn't really anything that is supposed to separate us. Once we feel that energy about us, that we also have an ability to be able to work with other people. And the pastor just kind of looked at me sideways and was like, I don't think you're ready, and maybe that's just not for you. So still, even then, in my 30s, was having people make decisions for me and whether or not this was something that I was supposed to do, or if I was just blowing smoke and that there wasn't anything, about it. I was just trying to make myself look special. Well, after a while, I thought about it, and I'm like, you know what? I need to be able to figure out for myself what this energy is. And because I know that when I touch on someone and they say that they have a pain in their body, I do that, then their body feels better. So I started looking at ways to be able to make the energy stronger. I ended up, and this is for everybody out there listening, be careful what you wish for, because when you go to that next level to be able to learn more, if that's the right path for you, then you will get that information, and it will come pretty hard and fast, but it won't always come the way you would like it to. I wanted a teacher. I wanted someone to come and be able to help me figure out what the heck this was. And so I started looking around and searching for answers. And it came about the time that I had become pregnant with my first child in my second marriage. And I was 4 months pregnant, and I had gotten into a car accident. And I was passenger. My husband was driving, and I had gotten slammed from the back with a car that was going 40 miles an hour, and we were at a standstill. And I lost the use of my legs for about 3 months. And I was pregnant. Couldn't take pills, couldn't even get an x-ray. And when I did go to the hospital and told them, that I needed to get seen and that I think that there's something wrong because my hips felt like they were shifted out, there was a woman at the front desk, and she of the nurse's station, and she said, well, if you don't do the x-ray, then we're not going to know what the heck is wrong with you, and there's nothing else we can do for you. We can't give you anything. And I had found out from the lady that was sitting next to her, came up to me. She told me in private, she said, if you get that x-ray and you're pregnant, that could cause damage to the baby. And do you want that on your conscience? And I'm like, and I'm in pain. I'm in like major pain. And I didn't know what else to do. So got back in the car, went home. A friend of mine had called me and said that she knew about this lady who was a Reiki master, very high degree level of this energy called Reiki. And at that point, I was willing to do anything because I was in pain. And she came to me a couple of days later, and she did a session on me, and my pain level, instead of being at 8 or 9, decreased down to about a 3 or a 4. And I asked her more about this energy because I had never heard about it before. And basically the way that she described it to me was like laying with the hands, like what Christ did. And that was my reference. So I was like, oh, okay. And then it clicked into my head about me going to the pastor and asking him what this energy was that I could do. And for this woman, her name was Gail, she worked on me, but she didn't touch me physically. She just basically took her hands and went over my body, and I could feel energy movement, and the muscles started to relax. And I was not, like I said, in screaming pain anymore. So she did a number of sessions on me. And then one day she told me that she was having a hard time driving from Strongsville to Lakewood, which is where I was living at the time. And she was also going to be going back to work. And I would have to learn how to do this for myself. And normally what happens with this particular technique is that you take a long, sometimes years, to be able to go from level 1 up to the 3rd level. But she basically gave it to me in a weekend. And she's like, I think your body will be able to handle it. Now, there are different kinds of energy fields that the human body already has. And for some who are advanced and understand how this energy moves and works, or they have a pretty good clue about it, it doesn't have as many side effects when you go and amp the energy up. But for someone who doesn't have any kind of a clue about any of this, and if someone were to do that to them, it would be a great disservice, because your body really takes about at least 21 days for each step to be able to work its course. And so for her to be doing what she did to me, I do not recommend, unless you've already had a pretty good idea of how to use the energy that's already in your body. And then after that, I started working on myself, and I was able to at least manage the pain. Now, I was also going to a chiropractor at the same time. Between the energy work and the chiropractor, I was able to get through a full-term pregnancy and regain also the use of my legs. And that was a very powerful moment in my life when I said, I need to teach other people how to do this. And I need to be able to get to the master level so that I can understand even more about how this works.
You know, it's funny, we were talking about Reiki just the other night and on this show, and I was actually telling a story to our audience where I had never believed it, and Miss Spaced Out Radio is very much into Reiki. She's a Reiki master as well. And I had this scenario where we had really been jumped on by two different couples who really ganged up on my wife and I. And it was a real bullying type process, and a lot of garbage came out. Not that I'm trying to get into the whole dramatic aspect of it, but one of the ladies there who was very spiritual actually put a curse on me. And it was to the point where it was affecting everything that I do. Everything. And my back was very sore. And so Mrs. SOR, she goes and stands behind me. She goes, just let me try it. You're in so much pain. Just let me try it. So, oh, fine, whatever. Just, you know, like
Right.
Extra strength Tylenol or Advil was not
Wasn't
working.
cutting it.
No.
Right.
And she got about 2 feet away from me. She started about 6 feet and said, okay, tell me when the pain starts. And she got about 2 feet away from my back, and I was screaming, and I collapsed on my desk. I was in such pain. And I was absolutely blown away that when she took it away, you know, that all of a sudden I was standing up straight. I had the ability to stand up straight. My back no longer hurt, and it was so instantaneous. It dumbfounded me that something like this could actually work.
Yes. I completely relate, because I was like, how is anything that is not going to be medicine or, some sort of surgery going to stop this? Because when you're in that kind of pain, it affects everything about you. Your physical body, of course, your mind is just bent, and you cannot do anything productive when you can't think straight.
Oh, I'm a full believer in it. I'm a full believer, right. And I find that it is, we were talking about it last night with Elizabeth Anglin. I find that it is a beautiful art form of healing and everything, a lot, for the body, something that we take for granted. Now, when you are in tune with the human body, as someone who is intuitive, psychic, how much does that help you read a person if you are, doing a reading for someone?
It's very cool. It's very, very cool. What do I want to say about this? All right, so when I'm doing just a regular psychic reading, if they are having questions about their personal life and all of that kind of thing, I don't do the energy part of it. That's a very much separate kind of thing. At least in my head. Maybe subconsciously they're entwined, and they probably are at some level. But when someone comes to me and they talk to me about their in physical pain, it's quite amazing. When I have somebody that's sitting across from me, or I'm working with, if I'm standing behind them or on the side or wherever I am, and they talk about, they ask about their body, and they want to know if I can go through their body and check it to see if things are getting better or if there is any kind of issues or anything like that. What I do is I tell them I don't want to hear anything about what's going on with you. Because a lot of times people will say, oh, she's not psychic because she's just feeding off of facial expression or some clue that the woman gave her or something like that. I don't do it like that. And part of the reason why I don't allow them to give me detailed information is because I want them to know that what I'm doing is real and that there is a actual feeling of desire to be able to help them to get whatever information that they need so that they can move on with their life. Now, when I'm in a session and I start going through, I go basically top down and start at the crown and go through. When I hit a particular section, if I'm just doing an intuitive and I'm not using a crystal or doing anything else, because I worked in, I did hospice for about 8 months, and I also worked in an AIDS clinic for 6 months, and I used different crystals and different other methods, and that's different than someone who comes to me and just asks me intuitively about what's going on with their body. I will start to feel in my body very empathically where things are kind of messed up. And we were talking earlier about mantras and relating it to vampiric and zombies. But the mantra that I use when I'm working with somebody like that, especially when I'm doing energy work, is I am you, you are me. Because we're basically all connected. I do a lot of research in quantum physics. And because I'm very, very interested in how in the heck I can go and I can touch somebody like that without touching them physically, and or I can also do it over distance. And I have a short story to be able to tell you about that. But it's a very physical thing for me. And when I go through the rest of their body, I will either have them take notes as to where I'm pointing. They'll have paper, pen, whatever. And or I'll just verbally say, this is where the issue is. And, I mean, I've had some people that have asked me whether or not they have cancer, whether or not the cancer is gone or if it's back. Sometimes when I'm talking with them and I'm just doing a regular reading, I will get images of what's going on in their body physically. And after the reading of what they came to me originally for is finished, then I'll start talking to them about their headaches that they've been having or their sleeping patterns or other information that's going on specifically about them in the physical state.
Jackie, Dawn wants to know in our chat room, are you able to do this online as well, like over the internet?
I prefer when I'm working with somebody like that to be able to have them in person. I have done things like that over the internet, yes. As a matter of fact, a few days ago I was working with a mother and a daughter. The mother had gotten bronchitis and then the flu and this really crazy stuff that's going around, and the young daughter too, and it was causing a lot of anxiety for her. So also the young daughter had a temperature spike, and it would keep going really, really high every couple of days. And even though she was under doctor's care, and I recommend everybody, you do energy work or not, you still keep your doctor's care until you can get it to a baseline where you don't need that anymore, that extra support. But yeah, it is possible. Quite some number of years ago, about 8 years ago now, I had a lady friend of mine that owned a bar, and she had been sick for a number of days, and I had gone in and at this particular bar, I would go in and I would, on my walk, I would go in and I would have a pop or a glass of water or juice or whatever. And she and I would chat. But I had noticed that a number of days had gone by and this lady had not been there. So I asked the lady that was acting manager, I said, what happened to Lisa? What's going on with her? And she told me that she was very, very sick and had now she was dealing with earaches that she had gotten like 3 rounds of antibiotics and the earaches would not stop. So I found her online and I chatted with her and we talked a little bit and I said, hey, I have something that I would like to try with you. You don't have to leave your house. You don't have to do anything. Just relax. And give me about 10, 15 minutes of your time. And she goes, yeah, sure. And so I had a picture of her. And that's when I started doing the mantra. I am you, you are me. And I started sending distant Reiki or distant energy healing. And I focused it in on her ears. And now mind you, when I first did this, I didn't absolutely know that it was going to do anything. It was kind of an experiment. And kind of sort of feel a little guilty trying to do this, but I was curious because I had heard so much about being able to do it. I wanted to see if it could be done. And or if I had the ability to be able to do it. So I focused the energy in on her ears, and I imagined her sitting in front of me. So I would take my hands and I would, at about the right angle that she would be in sitting down in a chair, I would just use my hands and go over her head. And I did that for, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes, something like that. And then I finished. And so I said, okay, I'm done with this. How do you feel? She took about 5 minutes before she answered me. And she said, my ears feel like they're draining. And I said, that's really good. And she goes, and they feel really, really kind of warm, and there's kind of like a tingling kind of a feeling going to it. And I said, that's amazing. And she said thank you. And then she told me she was going to go take a shower and go lay down. So about a week and a half later, I'm walking past the bar, and I go in, and I'm fully expecting to see her. Well, I didn't see her. I saw the lady that was the acting manager. And I asked about Lisa, and I said, how's she doing? And she told me, she goes, Lisa told me to tell you if I saw you again, that she is fully and completely healed, but she never wants to speak to you again. Ever.
What? Why? Why?
It's not the first time. It was one of many. I've had a lot of people do this. Because, and I've learned, I guess, as I've aged, I'm like 52 now, I've learned that there are some people who are so mind-blown by the fact that something like that could be possible at all, that either their brain just shuts down about it, or they think that it's something terrible.
Demonic.
Even though they got a healing from it. Yes.
Yes, because because it didn't come from traditional medicine or from their doctor or from their own personal clergy or belief.
Yes. Now, I did have a lady that came to me for a reading. She was of Jewish culture. She was not, what do you call it, the Orthodox Jewish, but she came from a family of Orthodox Jews. And she came to me, was talking about property and a relationship. And so I'm doing my work and getting taken care of what I need to get taken care of. And then I kept seeing this image of this man. And he had a black hat, and he had the curls, the very, very long curls in the front, and he was dressed in a black suit and a white shirt. And he kept talking to me about particular things that he liked, especially what he liked to eat. He wasn't very thin. He wasn't portly either, but he wasn't missing any meals. And he would talk to me and tell me different kinds of things. He showed me what he looked like, and so I passed this information on to this lady, not knowing how she would respond. I did not tell her a couple of things, though. When I told her, I gave her the description of who this was and the kind of stuff that he was talking about and all of that, and then she said, well, I'll give a look into it to see who this is. And so she finished her session. She got up and, she, of course, walked out the door. And here I am stuck with this image. Now, I did see the man. I told her everything about the man that I could.
Jackie, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we're going to hop out for our first break of the night. We're going to get Jackie Chin to come back, finish that story. I highly suggest you go over to Amazon right now, check out her book, Practical Paranormal. We're going to get a little bit more into that right after this. We're also going to get into vampires, zombies. We got a lot coming up in hour number 2. Hope you stick with us. This is Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back right after this.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Lori and Fenton here, SOR listeners. Join me at UFOCon 2018 in South San Francisco, California, March 23rd through 25th, where 14 presenters discuss all things disclosure, UFOs, and aliens. Stephen Bassett, Grant Cameron, and Melinda Leslie address disclosure. Preston Dennett will present Inside UFOs. Your Dave Scott and Lynn Buchanan tell of amazing alien contact. Get tickets at caufocon.com.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
Coming September 28th to the 30th, it's our first annual Caribou Paracon, put on by Spaced Out Radio and the Canadian Society of Questers. 3 days of paranormal, supernatural, and spiritual knowledge in the beautiful 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Tickets are $150 Canadian for the event, being held at the Spruce Hills Resort and Spa. Come watch our featured speaker, Grant Cameron, along with Laurie and Fenton, David Weatherly, Ross Allison, and more. The Caribou Paracon, celebrating everything paranormal.
Hey Space Travelers, it's Joe Roop, your host of Spaced Out Saturdays. Come join me as we explore the realms of the paranormal, the esoteric, and everything in between every Saturday night at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. You know the truth is out there. Don't get caught sleepwalking. Come join Spaced Out Saturdays. That's every Saturday night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, right here on SpacedOutRadio.com.
Psychic Sundays, spiritual communication, ET contact, Sasquatch in your backyard. We will have it all on Cosmic Passport with me, Elizabeth Anglin. Each Sunday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, at SpacedOutRadio.com, I will take you on a journey of enlightenment. The goal is learning from the soul on out. We'd love it if you joined our experience, Cosmic Passport, heard Sundays at spacedoutradio.com.
365 days a year, we're in the field, investigating UFO sightings, talking to alien abductees, and visiting secret military locations like Area 51. We're UFO Seekers, official partner of Spaced Out Radio. Follow our daily search for the truth at ufoseekers.com or like us on social media. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
From coast to coast to coast, Blacklight Uncharted is taking on the paranormal across Canada. From ghostly hauntings to the UFOs flying above in conjunction with MUFON Canada, we're closely investigating what's going on in the northern skies and checking out the apparitions that walk among us. Check out our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com. We want to know your thoughts, we want to hear your experiences, and we want you to share your stories. The answers are out there, and we intend to find them.
It's paranormal news at its finest. Welcome to The Encounter. At spacedoutradio.com, The Encounter online is SOR's trusted news source for everything weird and strange going on around the world. This is news editor Eric Markham. Our team of journalists are scouring the planet for those strange stories that rarely make the mainstream. No fear-mongering or fake news here. Head over to spacedoutradio.com and encounter The Encounter.
Want to learn more about aliens, cover-ups, conspiracies, cryptids, and the paranormal? All you have to do is tune in S4 as we take over the Spaced Out Radio night, starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, each and every Saturday night, right after Spaced Out Saturdays. Hi there, this is Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. Join me, Corey Ruiz, and friends as we discuss the hot topics of the night. It's fun, entertaining, and as dark as the night. Find us at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. And hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag SpacedOutRadio. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the program, we go into the Beast of Bray Road. Yes, Linda Godfrey is going to join us. We're talking Dogman tomorrow night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans, and over 160 countries around the world. We are also live on the Fringe FM. And if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember, the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to Revolution Radio and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Jesus, Bill. Cockalorum. Cockalorum is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Now, if you want to follow us on social media, you can follow us on periscope.tv. We are live every night during the show. Thank you so much for doing that for us. We are also live on Twitter. At Spaced Out Radio. You can use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio if you want to connect live with us during the show as well. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, you can follow me at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And we're on iHeartRadio in the United States. TalkStream Live. Tune us in on TuneIn. Download and subscribe to our show on iTunes. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including joining the SOR Space Travelers Club for $5 a month. Rock out to some Bumblefoot. Shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Watch great videos from UFO seekers at Contact TV, or read up on the encounter online. Everything at spacedoutradio.com. Tonight, we are talking zombies, psychic intuition, vampires from Zombiepalooza Radio. Good friend of mine, Jackie Chin, is with us. She is a very, very, I would say probably one of the most knowledgeable people on this subject on this planet. So, Jackie, thank you so much for being with us.
What do I say about an entry like that? Wow, thank you very much. I appreciate you so much.
Oh, anytime. Right before the break, you were telling us a story about,
yes,
where some, as rude as it is, that some people just can't accept, just because you're a little bit different or you're getting your messages that they don't agree with, that, they are kind of pushing you to the side and not wanting to deal with you anymore.
Yeah, it happens. I've talked to a number of people who do this kind of work, and that it's not just a job for them, but it's a lifestyle. And they have said that they have lost friends, but they've also met like some really amazing people, and I have too. So I guess there's a lot of alone time when when you have a background like I do, and I don't always like that alone time. I do deal with depression. I don't do meds for it. I actually started looking into it to see whether or not that would be something good for me to do. But there is also a whole other topic about psychics and using medicine for depression. But I'll get back to that in a hot minute. I wanted to kind of sort of finish up that story of the lady that came to me for a reading about her property and a relationship. So I go and I tell her about this man that I kept seeing. And usually if I see things at least 3 times, it's kind of significant. So I kind of like throw it out there. And she wrote down the description and all that. And it took about 3 weeks for her to get back to me about whether or not any of that information was relevant. And by the time she had called me back, I kind of sort of forgot about it. But there was a couple of things that I did not tell her about the experience that I had while I was sitting with her. The man, who had a very, very pleasant, smiling face, was very serene, but he was standing in complete and total blackness, just dark, just like the blackest black that you could even ever imagine. But he was happy. And I walked around with that image for a very, very long time. And I asked people that did the kind of work that I do, I said, what is this? Because normally when I see someone, there's some kind of background. They give me some sort of an indication of where they're most happiest and or information to pass on to the person sitting in front of me. But this guy, he was standing in complete and utter blackness. And I eventually, she called me back and she said that it was her grandfather that had passed. And that the part of the reason why she took so long to call me back was because she needed that time to process. Because you see, when you are Orthodox Jew, and even if you are not practicing, your belief is that when you die, that's it, game over. You don't come back, you don't send messages, you don't do anything. You just go to this nothing and you wait. And because of the fact that this man came through and I was able to tell her specific things about him, she went and she asked a bunch of people who this person could possibly be, and her grandmother, and I believe her mother's side, told me that it was, in fact, her husband. And so we were talking a little bit earlier about people who receive messages or get information that they weren't necessarily expecting. It can change their perspective, and it can change it so much to the point where they start to question everything that they've ever learned when it comes to spirituality or religion. It can be quite, I guess, daunting because of it. And it was not my intention to go and do this. And here's another thing. When I sit down with somebody, I don't always feel like, oh, hey, I've done this decades, so I can do it every time. And all of that. I always sit down with the new person, and I think to myself, and I ask my guides and whoever else is guiding this information, am I going to be able to do it again? Because I know that I've done it in the past, and I've written works about it, and I've given lectures and all this other stuff about stuff that I have done. But does it mean that I will always be able to do it? Now, there are particular people that are out there that I cannot read for. And here's a short story about that. Even though you're really, really good at what you do, you can't always fulfill what that person wants. And I don't care what profession you're in. Sometimes there's going to be that someone that's just you can't do anything for. So this lady, I was sitting down in a restaurant, and I do a lot of my in-person work I do at this little coffee shop that I have in town. And so I was sitting there and I was working with someone, and I had another client that was going to be coming in about 20 minutes later, but I still hadn't finished talking with this individual. And the lady, she walks in, and she sees me, and she sees me sitting there talking with someone, and she goes, well, I'm here. Can we get started? And I looked at her and I said, I'm sorry, we can't, because I'm sitting here talking with someone, and when I'm finished, which will be at the time that I scheduled you for, I'll get right to you. So she sat down in the chair at the table, and she was like diagonal from me, and every once in a while I looked up, she was staring right at me. It was kind of like her basically going, will you hurry up already so I can get in and do what I got to do, kind of thing. And I would focus back on what I was doing, and I finished talking with the person I was talking with, and then he gets up to go, and as soon as he starts to get up, she immediately bolts out of the chair and comes over to where we are, which was only maybe 10, 15 feet away, and she goes and she sits down after he had gotten out of the way, and she goes, I have a lot of different kinds of things going on, and she's very, very scattered, and she's very, very, like, it's like somebody took a deck of 52 cards and just threw them up in the air, and how they scatter all over to the wind. And she started telling me about all of these very unsettling things that were happening in her life. And her primary focus was that she used to go to this gambling place, and she used to gamble, and she used to win lots of money. And she would go and buy expensive this, that, and the others, and she was now on a terrible losing streak. And eventually, after you gamble so long, you're going to end up hitting a wall, and things are going to not be so good for you for a while. So she said she was trying to put up her car for sale, and it was a beautiful car, and there was hardly anything wrong with it. It was one of those classic cars, and she had it on a corner where her property was, and it was in a great place for people to see it, and people would come and they would look at it, but nobody would offer or ask to buy it. And she had some other things that were up for sale too. And she couldn't sell anything, and she couldn't win anything with her gambling or anything like that. So I sat with her and I used some cards, and I did what I do with everybody. I just started looking at stuff that was going on in their life currently. And I would pull information out of it, but then it was like I would hit a wall. And I'd be like, okay, what the heck is this? So we will put the cards back together again and do it differently to see if I could garner any more information out of this. Meanwhile, the woman's staring at me like I'm some sort of blithering idiot because I couldn't jump right into whatever the heck was causing the delay for her to be able to get her gratification and her money going again. And finally, I just got frustrated with it. And I said, there are certain people whom I cannot read for. And I have found that this is the case because they have their own karmic path that they have made, and they are not allowed to have assistance to be able to work their way out of it. Well, I said that, and she about ready, she looked like she wanted to throttle me. And I said, I want you to think about something. I want you to think about every time you won something really big. How many times did you offer to someone whom could not help you back? How many times did you go and give when nobody was looking, just because you were grateful for what you received? And she looked at me and she goes, why should I do that? It's mine. I should be able to do with it what I want, and why should I do that? And that's when I said, I have nothing for you here. I cannot read for you. She goes, well, I'll give you money. You know, how much do you want? It's not about money. It's about the fact that you have caused your own particular path. And because of all the times that you did not become grateful for what you had, by sharing it in some way, you boxed yourself into a corner. And there's nothing that I can do to pull you out of that. And no amount of money is going to fix this. Because you had your opportunities, and you missed every one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So she got really mad at me, and she started yelling and
Well,
stormed
it's not going to be her fault. Why would it be?
Yeah, and it was, part of me felt like, well, damn, maybe it's my fault that I can't do this, and maybe I can't do it anymore. But I thought that about the hour before, when I was sitting there and I was working with this person who was going through a very terrible tragedy in his life, how easy that was for me to work with him. And I didn't have any blocks, nothing about the situation. And it was a very grievous kind of thing that he came to me about, because he lost someone who died. And there was some other things that he had done that he knows that was bad in his life, that some of what was going on with him that he had caused. And what he was trying to desperately do was to make amends and start getting his life back on track again. And he had lost everything. But even in her loss, it wasn't so much of a loss as it was that she was just ticked off because she wasn't getting monetary gain anymore. So I didn't work with anybody for about a month and a half after that. And because I didn't know, I was like, well, is this time for me to shut down, or is this just something that I need to learn from, or is this not my lesson and it's somebody else's? And when I'm supposed to work with somebody, then the phone will ring again. And eventually it started ringing again. So, yeah.
I got a question from Andrew on Twitter, and he is saying, have you ever seen another person's death approaching? If so, is there an image associated with that information? Secondly, would you ever tell that person that their death is close, or do you keep quiet about this kind of thing?
Thank you for the question. All right, so the topic of death, because I did work in hospice for a while, and I also worked in an AIDS clinic where there were many people's lives literally hanging in the balance. Here is where my ethics come into play. And a lot of times you don't hear about psychics talking about ethics because, they just do what they do, and sometimes they spill out whatever information they glean. You have to know when the time is appropriate for something like that. And I will tell you this. If I had a teenager come to me, and I don't work with too many young people, but on occasion, and they said, I want to know everything. You know what I'll do? I'll say, I will give you a roadmap for the next 3 to 6 months. And in this roadmap, I'm going to give you some options and some different ways that you can be able to handle things to be able to help make your life more beneficial. But I never discuss death. When I do discuss death, here are some really, really strong necessities that need to be in place. There needs to be an intimate knowledge of that person who has the understanding that their time is very short. And or people who are working with that person to be able to help assist them, say either in a hospice situation or a life-critical situation. What I'll do is I will offer my assistance to do energy work, and I don't charge for that. If there is someone who is terminal, or if there's a missing persons or anything like that, when I do my work, I don't charge for that because these people are suffering enough. When I have people that are working on helping the individual who is in a terminal situation, I will take them aside and I will tell them what I think about how long they have. I do it for a couple of reasons. There is a definitive need to know, and there is a need to be able to give that person as much quality time as they possibly can, so I don't tell them directly. Now, I did have one man who I was working with. He was 32 years old, and 32 seems to come up a lot for me. But he was 32 years old. He was diagnosed with small cell cancer that takes people very, very quickly. He was told he had 6 months to live. And his wife had set up a hospice situation, and I had come in maybe a couple of weeks after they had heard about me, and I started going to their house. And I started working with them. And that's a whole other ball of wax, because when you've got hospice nurses and they've never seen any kind of energy work like this before, you will get a lot of guff from them, because they will think you're just some voodoo person trying to make them feel better and not really doing anything. And that's not the case. But as you're going in there and you're working with someone who knows that they don't have very much time, one of the last things that you should do is tell them when you think they're going to pass. It's wrong. It is unethical, and it is something that you should never do. Now, when I talk with the people that are working with him, I tell them, this is not something for this person to know. This is just for you. And it's to give you an idea of how much time you have left that's quality. After there becomes a certain time when the body starts shutting down, then that's a little bit different. And so what I'll do, especially with hospice cases, is I will do everything I possibly can to lessen the amount of medicine that they have to take and allow it to be a little bit more coherent, if at all possible, because some of these things, especially when you're taking morphine, which is one of the last resorts for pain relief, because the threshold has just gone off the charts with some of these patients. The more time that they have away from having to have their body drugged like that, the better. I had one situation, when I was working with this man, I'll just call him Steve. He was told by his doctors, hey, don't get off the medical bed and try to go sit into your comfy reclining chair, because that move could maybe kill you. And he, I guess, decided one day when I was in the kitchen with his wife and a couple of other people, and he was by himself, he was rather coherent, and he got up and he went and he sat down in his chair. We came back in and found him, looked like he was very close to being expired. And this was the very first time that I had actually been at the place of a hospice situation where the person was like 30, 40 seconds away from that's it, lights out. And I knew that he had more time. I knew that he had one last big rally and that this was just the wrong time. So, I don't know if it was the energy that brought him back. I don't know if it was just his will to live. Or maybe it was a combination of both. But he came back. I didn't know what else to do. I was yelling at him to come back. And I said all kinds of things to him. And I was just yelling at him and said, it's not your time. And you're not going to do this. And you're not going to do this right now. And I might have said something to the point of, you're not going to quit on me right now. That's just it's wrong. About 20, 30 seconds later, he took a big breath, and he, regained consciousness or whatever, wherever he was at. And we were able to get him from the chair back onto the bed again. The next day, when I came over to see him, about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, he was sitting up. He was chatting. He was very, very talkative. And at one point, maybe about an hour or so later, he got up from the bed, walked to the dining room table. He hadn't sat in that table in a very, very long time, and had a discussion with me about what more work he had after he was passed, and that he knew that he had other things to do. And he was very inquisitive, very, very much. If you would not know that he was on his deathbed not that long ago, you wouldn't think anything was wrong with him. And then the day after, he died. And I was working with another hospice patient who was 7 years old at the time. And she passed from Batten's disease, which is a wretched disease that takes all of the organs away. one at a time. He passed. I went to his funeral. It was really weird going to the viewing. When I went there, there were some people that didn't want to have anything to do with me, that knew that, the stuff that I was doing. And then there were other people that couldn't stop touching me. It was, and not touching in like a groping sense, but touching as in there's something about this person. I had this desire to touch this person. And I met the hospice nurse there at the viewing, and she asked if I would go outside and talk with her about some things that she had some questions about. And she said that when I was working with him, I would work with him for about 15, 20 minutes. And then she would go and she would take his vitals and do all this other medical stuff that she needed to do. And she said she kept a log. And she said when I was there and I was working with him and she would take the vitals, she noticed that things were lower, more calmer. His breath was more even. His pain level was not as high, and that he was more coherent, and that he had more oxygen going on in his blood and all of that. She wanted to know what it was that I was able to do that she seemed that she couldn't do, because she was also, too, trying to learn how to do this energy work. And so she became quite curious. And for a long time after, I would have conversation with her, and we would talk about different things she would find in working with other people. But it has a very profound effect when you are working with someone whom you know is in their last stage, and that have an ability to be able to calm the situation. People ask, well, it's you that's doing it, right? I say, most certainly, definitely not. I'm tapping into some people call higher consciousness or whatever this energy field is that we have going on in around our planet. I don't care how it works. I just know that it does. And I also know that everybody can do this. It's not something special. And so, yes, back to the question. There are ethics involved, and I hope that I've given them a good explanation for when to do and when to not do.
Let's change gears here, because we only have you until the top of the hour here. I need to know something about you, because I've always wondered this, but now that I have the fortitude to ask this question, I'm going to, and the fortitude is that I'm the host of this show. You have vampire teeth. Are those real?
Yes. Oh, we don't talk. It's like Fight Club, dude. We don't talk about Fight Club. we don't talk about
how am I
teeth.
supposed to know this? How am I supposed? Every time you smile, I see these fangs out there.
Because you've never asked. And you know why I like you so much? Because you never asked. Now, I don't like you less because you did ask, but,
okay,
there are certain particular kinds of things about people
if it's Fight Club,
that are
then
different.
We can all understand the rules of Fight Club, or Vegas, one of the two. Vegas or Fight Club, one of the two. So
they work very well, and they are quite pleasing to many individuals for different kinds of reasons. And I guess I'll leave it at that.
So, in the whole process of vampires, as we understand, and you mentioned very shortly, in hour number one, that this is kind of an underground cult fetish, shall we say, if we can use that term in a polite way and not a sexual way. I'm wondering what the reasoning is behind people wanting to have...
I got it for you right here.
Okay.
In a nutshell.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Remember when I told you when I was younger, there wasn't that feeling of understanding or knowing about who I was and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
When I went that route with the teeth,
Mm-hmm.
it was a form of empowerment. It can be very shocking
Mm-hmm.
to some people. It has a number of occasions. It has gotten me some unwanted interest. But for the most part, the people that I hang around with, it's not even a thing. It's just part of who I am. Like maybe some people have blonde hair and blue eyes, or they change their eye color, or they change their hair color, or the way they wear their clothes. It becomes part of a lifestyle. For me, very much the essence of I'm asserting my femininity, I guess, or my sense of being, because there is also, it's cultish, yes, but there is also a lifestyle that goes along with it. It allows you to become what you want to be. You get to define whom you are instead of having other people defining you in a more baser way. It can be very psychological too. Sometimes when I'm in a particular mood, it's kind of pissy, because I don't like the situation or I want someone to go away, I will use them in a way that is kind of shocking. And I'll grin at them or I'll open my mouth. And most of the time when I talk normally, you don't see them. You don't even know they're there. Mm-hmm. And but there are times when it can be very amusing. When people go out, like say Halloween and around October, you can expect people to dress different kinds of ways because they're going to parties and they're all of that. But one of the things that I found most interesting is that when I dress the way that I do with the cape and all of that, and I'm out in public, I went to a mall. I'm very interested in psychology. Mm-hmm. So I went to a mall with my husband. We were walking around, and he went off to go do something, and I decided I was just going to just walk in amongst people and see if anybody noticed me. And I wouldn't, do anything overt. I would just kind of blend in. And so many people are so focused in on what they're doing, maybe playing with their phones or having conversation or doing whatever, that they don't even notice that I'm maybe 4 or 5 feet behind them, or that they're being watched, or anything. In the show that I do with the zombies, we talk a lot about preparedness. We talk a lot about making sure that people, if there is a particular emergency situation, that they're prepared, that they have some sort of an idea of what to do instead of panic, like the deer in the headlights. And so we do a lot of teaching about that. I'm very grateful to have some of these people come on that prepping for them is a lifestyle. And so I get to learn a lot along with them teaching others. But this experiment of me walking around with these people, it unnerved me. It made me feel like I was, that movie, The Matrix?
Yeah. Yes,
Ever
I do.
seen that? Yeah, you know how Morpheus is kind of like standing there and he's observing what's going on. And then eventually Neo starts to do the same thing. You blend in, and when you do that, you get to see people in their very true essence. And most of them are very, very self-absorbed. And that's how very, very dangerous things can happen. And people go, We had no clue. We were not aware, and they're not. The other part about the energy work, when a body gets healed, which happens on occasion, when the body gets healed, that means that that person has become aware or awoke in their knowledge that they are responsible for helping their body heal. I don't want to leave any misconception about people that just go around and they lay hands on people and then they get relief or they get healed. And it just be spontaneous healing. It's not that person doing it. It's that person understanding and knowledge of how energy works and redirecting how the energy is in that other person's body. You can't do that without that person at some conscious level or subconscious level knowing that that's being done. And the other part of it is if somebody has the thought that they cannot be healed, guess what? It ain't going to happen. I don't care how good you are.
So with the whole vampire phenomena or Dracula phenomenon, how many people are involved in this, and why would someone want to do it? I don't think it's for a bloodlust or anything along those lines.
Hundreds of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, maybe millions. I don't know the like.
No,
it's kind of silly for me to.
And I understand that, but is it an attention thing? Because I can't see someone saying, it's who I am. It's that argument that the millennials use. This is who I am. I don't see it being that way.
So Dave, check this out. Maybe this might kind of open up another venue here. There are 10% of every group that is going to be a total moron, no matter male, female, transgender, whatever they are. They're going to be morons. So they're going to go out there and they are going to make a lot of noise. And it could be very, very far to the right or far to the left. And in all groups, there are these people that will do that. But for the most part, these people who follow vampiric ways, they also are Wiccans and witches and warlocks. And there's a whole other part of this that they envelop. And they're very quiet about what they do. The work that I do, I don't display all over the place. You're not going to go on Google and find me in a bazillion different places. There's going to be one place, maybe two now, that you can be able to find me and learn about what I do. I prefer to be in that part where I'm standing in the background and I'm there if somebody needs. And normally what happens when they end up getting to me, they've been everywhere else. And they're desperate to find a way to be able to fix their situation and bring it to balance. So, yeah, there are these people out there that are going to be loud and they're going to be like, hey, this is me, and don't like it, blah, blah, blah. But for me and many, many others, we prefer to just kind of be in the background. And for us, it is a lifestyle. We have a particular, there's particular foods that we eat. We prefer non-processed food. We prefer as whole food as we possibly can. Now, some of us are vegan, believe it or not, but many do eat meat. And there is a huge respect for what we
Hold on a second. How the hell do you have a vegan vampire?
You can do it.
No. What they look for tofu blood or what?
Here is what I'm going to tell you, and something that you can look at.
No. This whole thing just went. My BS factor just went to a 10 right now.
Let me lay it on you. Coconut milk, coconut water. Coconut water and the essence of what is inside the juice of the coconut is very much like blood, like human blood. Look it up. And they used it, I think, in I don't know if it was a Korean War or if it was World War I. But when they ran out of blood supply, they got coconut juice and they put it into the bags, and they fed it into the people, and it worked. Plus, there's also synthetic stuff. But like I said, if I'm going to do something like that, I want to know where my stuff comes from, and I want to make sure that I have a very clear understanding of what is going on in my body. Here's some other things.
I get that, and I can appreciate that. However, you just destroyed the whole idea for me of vegan vampires. Like, what about feeding off of virgin 18-year-old women?
Okay, so there are so many myths out there.
No, you know what?
Bram Stoker.
400 years ago, there was no vegan vampires.
No, and you know why? Because we didn't have the concept of being able to do that. And here's a couple of other things for you. A lot of people think, oh, you're a female, oh, you have vampire teeth, oh, you must be promiscuous, and or you must have a lot of fun, all of that, and you must dress like really kind of trashy and all of that. I am covered from head to toe. I look like I just walked out of a monastery. My background for my vampiric side of my life is actually very well laid out. I have a particular clan that I belong to, and it's probably going to blow Dave's mind out of the water. But and I also have a name that is not Jackie Chin. It is my vampiric name, and it's Jacqueline Verrichstadt, and it is German, and it means "May God protect the fire sword." It's part of when you put my picture up there, and I have the sword. That's part of the reason why that's there. I am of the warrior class, and I am a biological vampire. Now, how do you get biological vampires? My mom was a vampire, and when I turned, well, I didn't turn like what a human would turn, like say if you had the classic vampire goes and bites the human and now they've turned, and that's a bunch of bunk too. It does happen, but it's very, very rare. When I turned or became a full-fledged vampire was when I was 18. And there are vampires out there that are mostly human that never, ever turn, but they've got the vampiric gene in them. And there is a process to become awakened to it, just like there's a process to be awakened to the energy work that you felt. There is it's a big, huge thing. And I'm also 600 years old. I was born in 1400, and I became 18 at 1418. So there's a whole list of stuff that I could give about my background. Now, is it real? Probably not. But is it fun? Hell yeah. Because it gives me a little bit more of a little bit more of a background. It gives me a little bit more essence of this persona that I want to pursue. And it's really a lot of fun when I go to Comic Cons and get out there and meet people. Because there at Comic Cons, a lot of these people who portray themselves very, very differently, they can go to places like that and they don't get made fun of. As a matter of fact, some people will go, hey, that's really cool. How'd you do that? It's a part of being able to feel like a part of something bigger.
And I understand, and I honestly believe that's a cool aspect of it. How much do you buy into the immortality, though? Because I'm sure you have ran into people who are into vampirism who believe that they are immortal.
Well, there are particular things where you look at it and you go, if that's what they want to believe, and it's not interfering with what my thinking is, that's one thing. But I also believe in reincarnation. And I know for a fact that it's real. And a real hot little short story to, like, as a, Dr. Heal Yourself kind of thing, I would talk to people about reincarnation because I had heard other stories about things, and I could reflect that way. But how would you like it if you were sitting at your dining room table when your 4-year-old child started talking to you about something that they did in another life? Only they don't say it like that. They just go, hey, remember when? And my husband was friends with a man named Nico, who happened to be part of his crew in the Army. And at some point, this man passed. We don't know exactly when the date was. But our son, who is named after him, which I thought was kind of bizarre after I had thought about the whole incident, told him about particular things that happened to Nico when he was in the Army that my husband knew because he was right there. And then he started talking about how to do fighting techniques. And the kid's 4 years old. We didn't show him any, military movies, right? He's not allowed to watch that. My husband's not allowed to watch that. So he didn't have any kind of a background that I would know in the physical here about why he would start talking about this stuff. And he did that for about 1.5 years. And then all of a sudden it stopped. So, yeah.
We got about 4.5 minutes left with you here tonight, and I want to say a big thank you for you coming on. And in the end, I want to just follow up with a final question here about, people who believe that they are immortal. Do you think there are, from what you have learned through your radio show and studying vampirism, do you believe that there are immortals walking on this planet?
I do. But not for the reasons you would think.
Fill me in.
Your show, I'm sorry?
Fill me in.
I believe that there is an alien presence on this planet. I do believe that there are such things as angels, and I also do believe that there are demons, and angels and demons are immortals. That is a fact. And yes, there are those that are walking around on this planet. And as far as the aliens, I'm thinking that they may be part of that whole angel-demon thing. I haven't quite figured out the aliens. But yeah, they're immortal. But as far as humans, outside of reincarnation, I don't believe so. But their energy has to go somewhere. And so that does make one wonder.
Because there are a lot of people out there who do claim that they are of immortality, and that they've been walking this planet for a long, long time, whether it's demonic or angelic, that's a whole new ballgame that we don't know. Do they believe that it's their spiritual essence that is carrying on from one body to another, or do they believe that they're walking in that same body, that same life form? From what I've read online, and immortality is actually a very difficult subject to try and actually find someone to talk about, because I would love to find someone who thinks they're immortal to get them on the show. I think it'd be a great interview, but it just seems like they think that they've been rocking the same body for centuries, millennia maybe.
No, that's not even if you were vampiric. Would you have that same body? Because your essence of whom you are can get passed to another vessel, and we're talking about bodies as vessels, but as far as the lasting quality of a human body, it would decay over time. There would be things that would not be beneficial to that essence anymore after a period of time. And I don't have enough study in that particular field to know how long one could actually keep the upkeep. But I just don't see it. Now that, like I said, the reincarnation, I get.
We're down to our final minute here with you, my friend. Please tell everybody about your book, Practical Paranormal, where they can find it. Give them a little jingle about it.
Thank you so much. Yes, my book, Practical Paranormal, The Untold Secrets to Mastering Yourself and Your Surroundings, can be found on Amazon.com. Barnes & Nobles, it's there. It is basically anywhere you like to go to find books. I have a very amazing distributor that does that. Also, you can find this book at Neely Worldwide Publishing, and you can get it from there. And very much appreciated to Neely Worldwide Publishing for producing my book for me. Thank you.
Not a problem, Jackie, and it's always a pleasure to have an opportunity to chat with you. You are just an amazing person, and like I said, you're a lot of fun to have on the air, and I love the banter, so thank you so much for entertaining my audience tonight on Spaced Out Radio. What a pleasure.
Thank you.
You hold on for 1 second here. We're going to send this off to commercial. Coming up in hour number 3, I had a spontaneous moment. Let's open up the phone lines. 1702-302-4556 will be the call-in number. If you were immortal, what would you want to do in your life? How would you go about doing it? Fill me in hour number 3. I want to hear your immortal stories if you were immortal. Let's have some fun. And we got the Thought of the Dave coming up as well. We'll be back right after this.
Hello, SOR listeners. Lorian Fenton here. Let me ask you, now that disclosure's happened, what does it mean for ufology? For answers, join us at UFOCon 2018 in South San Francisco, California, March 23rd through 25th. Keynote speakers Stephen Bassett, Grant Cameron, and Melinda Leslie address the current disclosure agenda. Dave Scott, yes, you're Dave Scott, and Lynn Buchanan tell of amazing alien encounters. Get your tickets at caufocon.com. That's caufocon.com.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
The first annual Caribou Paracon is happening September 28th to 30th in the 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia, brought to you by the Canadian Society of Questers and Spaced Out Radio. Come listen to our featured speaker, Grant Cameron, along with Elizabeth Anglin, Paisley Town, Mike Moran, Eric Cooper, and more. It's a 3-day supernatural adventure at the Spruce Hills Resort and Spa. Tickets for the weekend are $150 Canadian. The Caribou Paracon, celebrating everything paranormal.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio. or our website, including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
We're lighting the void on Saturday nights on Spaced Out Radio. Hey, this is Joe Roop, and I'm hanging out in SOR headquarters every Saturday night, bringing you the latest news when it comes to the weird and strange. Bigfoot, occult, UFOs, ghosts, and everything in between, I got you covered. You can tune in to spacedoutradio.com starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. Come travel into the void with us on Spaced Out Saturdays.
Not ready for bed on Saturday night? Right after Spaced Out Saturdays, hop on over to S4 with Corey Ruiz and me, Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. With S4, there are no limits to what we try and uncover. From government conspiracies to helping clean up the paranormal, no topic is safe on S4. We get to the heart of the matter, of the subjects you want to learn more about. So tune in on S4 starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, only on spacedoutradio.com.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4COP. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
This is Eric Markham, news editor for the Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter Online. We have put together a great team of writers and journalists from all over the world to bring you top-quality paranormal stories. From alien encounters to the latest conspiracies, you won't find any of that fake news here. True stories and top-notch reporting as we look to bring these experiences to the mainstream. The Encounter Online, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Do you want to know the truth? Do UFOs exist? Are aliens real? Are the governments hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO seekers, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow along with us as we journey across the United States, visiting UFO hotspots and alien hotspots, trying to document the UFO phenomenon. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories.
It's Cosmic Sundays with me, Elizabeth Anglin, in Cosmic Passport. Let me take you down a 3-hour spiritual journey where we will get into everything from ET contact to Psychic Sundays. It's a journey of listening and learning together with some of the best professionals in their fields. You can tune in to Cosmic Passport at spacedoutradio.com every Sunday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and hashtag Spaced Out Radio. And on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the program, we have Linda Godfrey coming in. Yes, she was the one who in the late 1980s broke the story of the Beast of Bray Road. and has been a dogman researcher ever since. Pardon me, we're in Canada. Dog people researcher ever since. Because we're not allowed to use man up here anymore. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister Unicorn. So we get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com if you want to tune us on in. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of the Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans, and over 160 countries around the world. We are also live on the Fringe FM, and if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember, the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to revolution.radio and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Cockalorum is your password. Cockalorum is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Now, if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio if you want to connect live with me during the show as well. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, follow me at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. We would appreciate it. We are also live on Periscope.tv. each and every night while we do this show. We are on iHeartRadio in the United States, TalkStream Live. Tune us in on TuneIn. Download and subscribe to our shows on iTunes. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including joining the SOR Space Travelers Club for $5 a month. Rock out to some Bumblefoot. Shop at the Spaced Out Radio store. Read up on the Encounter online, or what you can do is watch some great videos from UFO Seekers, Contact TV, and so much more. Now, tonight in hour number 3, we are opening up the phone lines to you. I'm opening up the phone lines. Hopefully it's not like last night. Hopefully you guys call in. Because all of you were like, when's Dave going to open up the phone line? So I'm putting the pressure on you, audience, to call on in. We're talking everything from vampires, zombies, immortality. Do you believe in it? Before we get into that, I got a little secret to tell you guys. Won't be too much of a secret after I mention this, but I will say this. I have recently, or let me go back, about 6-7 weeks ago. As many of you know, I very much preface that I do not remember many of my dreams. Do not remember any of my dreams at all. And anyhow, I had this dream that I actually woke up in an anxiety attack. And it's weird for me because I am someone who really, really does not follow their dreams. And I'm not saying on a life thing, follow your dreams. You tell the kids when they graduate to high school or college, just follow your dreams. Do what you need to do. That's not it at all. So, as I'm falling asleep, and I fell asleep, all of a sudden I started playing this movie in my head. My imagination got this movie playing in my head. And I realized, right before I woke up, that this was a book that I needed to write. So, what I've been doing ever since I have been, staying away a lot from social media, I'm not responding as much as I normally have. It's because I've been writing down ideas. I've been writing everything that comes to my mind. And it's weird. I'm on chapter 2. I've written a prologue. I've written chapter 1. And I'm on chapter 2 right now, about 2/3 of the way through chapter 2. And what I'm writing about is a book with this movie playing in my head. I don't know if you guys are like that. If you're really big into reading, and I love reading. If you fully understand what I mean by, like, when I read a book, I'm not, yes, my eyes are reading the words, but in the end, what I'm actually doing is I'm actually seeing a movie play in my head. And when I'm watching that movie, it just seems so surreal. It's like I'm right there. Well, this is what has been happening to me with this book, is I'm actually not seeing the words that I'm typing. I'm just letting my fingers write out what I'm seeing playing in my head. I don't know if that sounds awfully strange to you guys, or if that actually, you can actually fully understand that. I hope you do. I hope I'm explaining it well. So I've started this book, and it kind of involves a lot of the topics that we discuss on a nightly basis. And with that, you know, it involves aliens, it involves UFOs, it involves conspiracy, it involves podcasting, it involves absolutely everything that kind of we've built around Spaced Out Radio. It has nothing to do with SOR. There's a lot more to it. I can't go and give it all away. But I don't know if you've ever had, you know, that type of creativity happen. And it's new to me. It really is new to me. When I'm seeing this movie playing in my head and I just have to write it out. I just have to write it out. So that's what I've been doing in my spare time here. So I'm very, very hopeful that, you know, I don't know. I've never written a book before. I don't know anything about publishing. I don't know a damn thing about self-publishing, or do I go to, you know, present it to a publisher and an editor where they're going to change absolutely everything? I have no idea. I'm just getting some thoughts on paper right now and see where it goes. So that's what's been eating up a lot of my time lately. And you know what? It feels really cool to be creative like that. And I found that it's really seemed to calm me down, and it feels good, and it just, everything that kind of goes through that. So that is what I've been doing on my spare time. So when it's done, I'll let you know. I got to talk to some people about it, because the good part about having a show like this is you make connections. You make connections. So you never know. Maybe if it's good enough, it could get published. Maybe they'll tell me it's trash, and it's just something for me. It's not about my experiences or anything like that. It's a total sci-fi, fictional type book. You know. So I'm kind of pressed to put what I'm seeing on my computer. It's weird, because I've never really used Google Docs before. So, using Google Docs, it's kind of cool. And maybe when it's done, maybe all of you will want to read it. I don't know. But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoy the process to use your own creativity to whatever it does. All right. So that's my little secret. And no, it doesn't have anything to do with gnomes. No, it does not have anything to do with gnomes at all. So, yeah. Immortality. Do you believe in it? Do you believe that there are people walking this planet that are truly immortal? I got to tell you, I don't. Personally, I don't. Unless they're some sort of demon or angelic being. But the fact, you know, that we have some sort of Highlander thing going on. And wasn't that a great movie series? The Highlander? There's a movie series that I wish somebody would re-pick up and redo. The Highlander. Talk about an underrated set of movies with great sound. You know, Queen did all the music to them. So, I just find it very interesting that there are people out there who believe that there are some sort of immortality out there. 1-702-302-4556 if you want to call on in. That's 1-702-302-4556 if you want to come in. Talk to me about immortality. Talk to me about vampires. Vegan vampires, as Jackie Chin stated in hour number 2. Really, you know the world is all going to hell in a handbasket if we are talking about vegan vampires. Honestly, vegan vampires, I don't get it. Sure, the whole coconut milk thing, I can get. Okay? I can get that. I fully can. But vegan vampires? Is that not a little too 2018 for you? Let's go to the phone lines. Area code 402. Who am I speaking with tonight?
Hi, Dave. It's Cher.
Hi, Sharon. How are you?
I'm just so great. I'm excited about your book. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. It's, I don't know when I will ever be finished it. I'm just letting it run and letting my fingers do the talking. I do a little bit of writing every day on it. And, I'm not one of these people who sits down and writes 3 or 4 chapters in a day. I can't do that, but I'm just letting it play, letting it ride, piece by piece.
Let me ask you something, Dave. Have you got, because to me it would be the hardest part is starting it, the first chapter, the prologue. Have you got, do you already have the ending in your head? I mean, how are you doing this? Did you do an outline? Are you just kind of going with your dreams or what?
I'm just going by the dream. And the dream started off with a plane crash. In what year would that have been? So in 2008. Started off with a plane crash. So.
Wow.
Yeah. And
that sounds good.
And, it really connects, I think people who know me, when they read it, they'll say, okay, I'm starting to put the pieces in there because I put a lot of personal Easter eggs in this book, that probably most people would not fully understand, but I made sure to include, giving an example, I included my daughter's names and my son's names and, special dates, and things like that. So I kind of, when I wrote the prologue to it, I kind of broke down, the entire plane crash, and then it kind of goes from there. And, you don't want to give out too much, so I'm a little hesitant on giving out too much because I haven't really talked about it publicly at all. Only a couple people have known about this. And, but it's just something that, like I said, these images and this movie in my head have been so vivid that I just felt that I absolutely needed to get it out on paper. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely don't put it out there, your story, because I had a cousin, well, I still have the cousin, but he wrote a screenplay and, for a series, and he took it to MGM. He was an actor, and he pitched it, and they wanted it, but they didn't want him as the star, and he wanted to be the star. It was his show, and he's an actor, and that's why he did it. And so he walked away, and they went ahead and did the series, and, he never got credit for any of it. They just stole it. Mm-hmm. So you got to be careful of that. And there was nothing he could do about it, really.
Mm-hmm.
Big studio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wish they had Highlander back, too.
Yes.
But you asked about immortals.
Yes.
You know, there is one immortal on the earth, if you believe the Bible, and that is the soldier who killed Jesus, who crucified him. One of them was cursed to walk the earth until the end of time. Did you know that?
I did not know that. You know, and I've read the Bible, and I just don't recall that story.
I know. I was kind of shocked too. Yeah, I guess I don't know where it's at. If I can find it, you know, you can Google just about anything anymore. I'll try to find it. But yeah, that's what I was told, that one of the soldiers who killed Jesus was cursed to walk the earth until the end of time. So
I wonder where he is now, and I wonder if he's out there now, and I wonder if he still knows.
Right. I don't know. I bet. You know,
that is
he's probably running around in the vampire cult. I don't know.
Could be.
So he could blend in.
Oh, who knows where he would be? Who knows where he would be? But I mean, the idea that creepy. It is kind of creepy. I mean, because that would be something very heavy to carry around for eternity. You know?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, did you ever see that movie, The Seventh Sign, with Demi Moore?
No.
Oh, wow. It's a good movie. But they do talk about that guy in that movie, actually. I just remembered that.
It's going to make me start looking things up.
I know. Well, you know, hey, maybe he was in the plane when it crashed. Maybe that guy was there.
Who knows? Could he die, though? If he's immortal, could he die in a plane crash?
No,
exactly.
Can't die.
Exactly.
No,
Sharon, thank you so much for calling in, because I do have another caller waiting in here, but good. Thank you for asking. Appreciate it. Take care.
You're welcome. Good night,
right. Dave. Good night. Thank you. All right. Let's Sharon from the Spreaker chat room. We love it when she calls in. Area code 360. That's a Washington State number. Who's calling in tonight?
Yvonne Kaluuya.
Hello, Yvonne. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. I'm pretty grounded.
Oh, grounded? Did you get in trouble?
No. I meant I was having problems with a lot of interference and blocks, and so I had Donna come and work on me and removed an attachment.
Oh.
So you better watch out. Yvonne's, Yvonne's on, so to speak.
I'm always.
I've gotten back,
Always watching out to see who or what is attaching to me. I've been cursed once, so it's something that I am very, very aware of.
Yeah, because with me, I'm not aware when I get an attachment. You know what I mean? Until so many stuff happen, then I kind of see a pattern. And then I say, I got to call for help.
Well, then that's good that you have people that you can call for help. What's your question tonight?
Okay, well, I don't really have a question, but I do have a response in regards to immortality. If you have had a near-death experience, you do believe it. I had a near-death when I was 14, and I came back knowing that there's an aspect of ourselves that is eternal at 14 years old.
And that would be the soul, of course.
Well, for me, what I experience as I think about the soul, and it's our sense of consciousness that is eternal. If you can understand that.
Yeah, and I can understand that concept, but do you believe that there is any human being on this planet that is walking around as an immortal?
No, I do not. I don't get a sense of that at all.
but we don't know. Think about
Yeah,
it.
but we don't know.
Your neighbor right beside you right now, male or female, does not matter, could be immortal.
Dave, I have so many gifts. I would have a sense that I would probably know or, sense it, that something was different.
I would hope that I could, too. Because I have a sense on people. I do have a read on people.
Yeah, and also the other thing, I can see a person's death mask descend upon their face, and I know that that person will be dead in 24 hours. And then they're not necessarily showing symptoms that they are critically ill.
Wow. What's that like to see that?
The first time it happened, I thought my glasses were dirty. I'm a nurse. I was a nurse. I worked, of course, in intensive care, coronary care, trauma, the whole 9 yards. So, of course, death, can occur, so to speak, pretty frequently. But I could be talking with a patient, and suddenly, as we're talking, I would see like the white death mask descend upon their face. And then, as it kept happening, and seeing, I realized that it meant that this person would be dead in 24 hours, even though they showed no physical or physiological parameters that was imminent. And the death mask is not frightening. It's white, it's translucent, and it's very peaceful. They're very peaceful, their face. And I also, later on in my readings, I found that when a person is close to death or death is near, their aura is white.
I do have to ask you, Vaughn, did you and I meet at the Forest Moon Paracon? Were you there?
Did you see a little? I was at the last year's Paracon.
Yes.
I'm a petite Filipino with long black hair.
And you were a nurse, and I believe you served as a military nurse as well, correct?
Yes, I was a triage nurse during the Vietnam War.
Yes, and thank you so much for your service. I really I remember I gave you a hug in the parking lot when we were heading over to...
Really?
Yes, we met. I know you now. Now I know.
Really? I love to hug people because I'm from Hawaii. You know what I mean?
Yes, you are from Hawaii. I do recall that. I totally know who I'm speaking with now. We were just getting in after the conference. We were just getting into our vehicles, and all of us speakers had to go down to the pizza parlor for the VIP.
You're the one I approached.
Yes, I'm that guy.
I enjoyed your presentation.
That's right.
Oh gosh. So I have met you.
You have met me, yes.
So Deska. Okay. But also, I wanted to, she was talking about zombies and, that type of thing. Well, what struck me was in the Antarctica, scientists are very concerned that as a permafrost melts, there will be microbes released that mankind or humankind have never known before. And some of those microbes will be pathogens. And so there is the possibility of mass extinctions. But I am thinking, what if the mass extinction isn't necessarily a mass extinction, but the changing of those who die?
Could very well be. But
anyway, that's what struck me when she mentioned, about zombies, type thing, and kind of thing. And the vegetarian vampire thing kind of threw me off. I had to think about that one. But the coconut water that was fascinating to me because, using it as IV, because then it would be like getting an infusion of maybe like dextrose water. But it would depend upon the age of the coconut, because the coconut turns more closer to water as it ages. And so the liquid would have to be compatible with human blood without causing the cells to burst. You understand what I'm trying to say?
You're a big fan of the coconut water.
Oh, I love coconut water. I can live on that. The young juice, though, the young. Because the older the coconut gets, all the nutrients is absorbed by the seed.
Which would make sense.
So that's why, I just have that kind of mind that functions that way, Dave. Okay? Because I have a little ADD, and I have it in the mild form. And so the doctor told me that I have the real good qualities of it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But it's just it's just that my brain is like a fucking computer at times. And I receive so much data and information. So sometimes I don't know if it's me or that I'm having a download or input from the I guess the entities or beings that I communicate with. I don't deal so much with malevolent stuff, but more with higher beings. And I suspect it was from what Keith said. I carry a very high vibration. Type thing. And I'm just learning. The last 2 years, I finally accepted all this. Because I had to work through two issues. One was a fear that I would hurt someone, and I carried that fear since I was a child. My second was the sense of my unworthiness, and it was only in regards to the temptation of using my gifts in very malevolent ways. Because I could really...
You were using it in malevolent ways?
No, my concern is that I would use it and abuse people with it. That was my fear, and so that's why I didn't want that responsibility.
I understand now. I understand. So being
because of knowing that how frail we are as human beings. Like handling anger. I'm not a person who gets angry very easily, but when I do, you don't want to be around me because I can strip a person. I can strip a person of their self-defenses if I wanted to.
When did you find out that you had all of these gifts?
Honey, I've had gifts since I was like 3 or 4 or 5 years old, and I just didn't understand it. For the longest time, I grew up thinking that everybody experienced reality as I did, until I tried telling one of my little playmates what I was experiencing, and then they gave me this kind of funny look. So then I didn't tell anybody. And then it was in 2006. It was like, the spirit, so to speak, lost patience with me. And so it just came on full board. And I just had to deal with it. And so you could say I've been through the mill, so to speak, in terms of what people would refer to as the dark night of the soul. And for me, if you are gifted to go on psychological drugs, is the most horrifying experience. It was for the first time in my entire life that I was without my gifts. And I tell you, I was at almost, I had considered I struggled with suicidal ideation and the whole nine yards. And then when I realized and asked my therapist that I had for 6 years if she thought I was bipolar, and she said, "No, you're not. You're one of the sanest people I know." So I weaned. It took me a whole year to wean off of the medications that they had me on. And then my gifts came back. And it came back like a vengeance. I mean, you wouldn't believe what I'm capable of doing, Dave. When my gifts came, I'm shape-shifting. You know what it's like to be running around in the jungle as a panther or dancing with your prehistoric ancestors?
I have no idea. Fill us in on what this is like, because this is whole new territory here for us.
Okay. Because, I learned I was a shaman, and that took me a few years to accept that, And then and that was because my guides were taking me on to experiences, and I would call them like challenges or trials. I would just be thrown into a situation, and then I'd have to figure it out, how to get out of it. Okay? But you want to go back to the shape-shifting. I suspect I shape-shifted even in my childhood, because I have vivid dreams of running through the jungle as a panther, and boy, do I love the shape-shifting. But now as an adult, when my gifts, I was awake shape-shifting, or what I would say in a meditative state. What have I shape-shifted into? Well, I told you about the prehistoric time. Because I asked my guides, how far did my shamanic history go? And so then they sent me back, and it goes back into a primitive time when we were like about 4 feet high. From a distance, we looked like an ape-like creature, but we're not covered with fur like a chimpanzee. It's hair. And the back of our arms we don't have the hair. We don't have hair. It's exposed skin there. But our hair will kind of like wrap around to look like as if, we're totally, we're totally like covered. And also the back of our legs are slightly exposed. And so the hair curls around and kind of covers that. But that was a wonderful experience. Because you're so small, the bonfire is gigantic. And we were dancing around this fire, and it was exciting to experience the building up of fervor in preparation for the hunt. And then I realized what I became when I saw my arms go up as I held this wooden spear. And I saw that my arms were like that, of those ancestors.
I have to ask you something here, if you don't mind, and I apologize for cutting you off.
Oh, no. Totally.
Are you like, and I don't mean this as a demonic or a mean thing to ask, but from what you're telling me, you almost sound what the Utes of Utah would call a skinwalker.
But I don't do it all the time. What is a skinwalker?
That's a shaman who can shapeshift.
Yeah, because that psychic I was talking to where we got Zach type thing. Well, she works with children who have difficulty with their psychic gifts. Okay, so there's 2 things that the kids she caught with the kids. One was on their breaks, the children would be talking about me, that I would go to some of them and I'm explaining some of the things that they do not understand. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
The kids ranged from 5 years old to like about 17, I think, is the oldest. And she had about 7 or 8 kids. But the most other thing she learned is that 2 of those kids I saved from drowning. But I wasn't in human form. I was a serpentine dragon when I saved them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can believe it or not, but these are, she's not, she's a very highly professional person, so to speak, who works with children. And the children share this with her, and they know my name. And I have never met them
Right.
at all.
Dominique in the chat room is asking, are you Aswang?
What is Aswang?
It's Filipino for like a shapeshifter.
Well, I am just learning my gifts, hon. But the other time I shape-shifted, I became some kind of being. Because I noticed that when I came back, I looked at my right foot, and it was still like a translucent white. And it was definitely not my foot. So I guess I am. I mean, you know what I mean? Because I'm not insane. You know, because I don't welcome these experiences, Dave. You know, they just occur. And so my thing is, okay, when will it be that I can actually consciously control it?
Mm-hmm.
You understand? I would like to. I mean,
and once again, I'm not trying to be insulting here. Do you think that since you cleared yourself of medication that you have had these episodes? Because for a lot of people, they will say, or they will sit there in listener land and question whether or not that was a good move.
To be off of my medications?
Yes.
Yes, because I've checked back, so to speak, with my therapist. I was also under the care of a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist also confirms that, Yvonne, you are not bipolar. So they they subjected me, to a test. When I was diagnosed as bipolar, it was in like 98, 97. And I was I ended a relationship. And by the time my ex and her friend, who was a psychologist, kind of put it in my ear that I was bipolar. And I also then was subjected to having my first development of my autoimmune disease. So I was like in pain for 24 hours, 7 days a week. And so in the sense of my defenses, so to speak, were very, were also down. So I went to the, psychiatrist and stuff, and without any testing or anything like that, they put me on medication. And I felt totally screwed. I mean, I would be talking to people and I felt so detached, like I was like in an air bubble or something, and I just could not connect, so to speak, that, if you're intuitive, you're empathic, you're telepathic. I mean, suddenly not to have any of that was just whoa. And during that time,
right,
in the 90s, they did not accept the fact that there was such a thing as adult ADDs. Okay, at that time they felt that adults outgrew it. And it wasn't until the mid-2000s that the psychiatric community recognized that there are adult ADDs.
Do you feel, after everything that you have gone through, maybe it's post-traumatic stress from, what you saw in Vietnam, do you think that this has anything to do with the conditions that you are seeing spiritually today?
Because I did not, I never went to Vietnam itself. My father and Senator Inouye, I think, intervened in that process because they are both disabled veterans. World War II, Senator Inouye, and then my dad in Vietnam. I would have gone to Vietnam at the time that the U.S. was pulling out, which was like 73, 74. And that is the worst time for medic people to be over there because the enemy lines change so quickly. And my dad, I suspect, intervened through Senator Inouye that I would not be sent there. In fact, I was sent overseas to Germany.
Very cool.
So Dave, I am pretty grounded person, and I do know I'm ADD because I get really excited, and I speak very quickly. And at the time when I was given that psychiatric diagnosis, you have to realize that, one, I had to end my relationship with my partner because it was very emotionally abusive and was turning into being physically abusive. And then also I was having the onset of my autoimmune with 24/7 pain. And what it did was it affected my oral. My tongue would like swell. For my tongue to even just rub against my teeth or something, it was like excruciating pain. My weight dropped down to like 92 pounds. And so having all that going on, I was, stripped, so to speak. It was almost like as if I had no control over what was developing around me and affecting me, when usually in actuality, if I was not so physically ill and also not subjected to the relationship I was in, I could function just fine. But it was like, going through a crisis in where you are literally, it is the black night of the soul, the dark night of the soul, hon, where you are dismantled, you are turned inside out, outside in. There are days you don't know what is up and what is down. You also feel like you are not fit for public consumption, so to speak, to interact with the public, so to speak. And remember one of your, somebody was talking, I remember, on one of your shows about the dark night of the soul, where some people end up in that, when you're going through that process of awakening, where they could end up being on psychiatric meds for the rest of their life if they cannot traverse the dark night of the soul.
I want to ask you this because I do have to get going to the thought of the Dave here in a couple of moments here. When you shapeshift, do you feel it happening? What happens to your body? What do you feel? Or is it something that is an out-of-body experience?
How would I say? I don't feel, not like in the movies, like, a person turning into a wolf or something and they're going through all this pain. No, I don't experience. I experience, though, when I'm coming back from what I shapeshifted into, back to human form. I feel it. I mean, I can, I look at my foot, and I see that, my big toe is kind of more deviated the other way than in its normal position. And I can feel, like when I saw my foot, being something else, not my human foot, I could actually feel the bones going back into position. But it wasn't painful. It was just like when you crack your bones or something. You know what? If somebody cracks your back or something like that, it felt like that. Is the only thing I can explain.
Do you have a choice on what you want to shapeshift into, or does it just happen?
It kind of, during that period, it happens depending upon what I need to learn. You know what I mean? Like I think, like when I shapeshifted into the panther, I always only shapeshifted into a panther. I never shapeshifted into another wild cat or something, like a lion or, jaguar or something. It was always only a Black Panther. Okay? The other ones, well, like, going back into prehistoric times and becoming like an ape-like creature, that was because I raised the question, how far does my shamanic history go? It was my question. And then they gave me this experience, so to speak. The other one, the translucent, whiteness of my foot and stuff, that was my guide's lesson. And I think allowing me that I may somehow be interacting with alien beings in that form. The one thing I forgot to tell you when I talked to you and Keith was, you know what, we were talking about the two entities that we were talking to?
Yes.
Well, the big one told me that I am on some council.
Oh, okay.
And so that's why I had the question to to those roundtable psychs that is there a council where both humans and ETs,
well,
interact, so to speak.
That is a question that I would suggest you ask Keith when he is next on the air, which will be on March 2nd.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You can ask Keith that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yvonne,
but,
Yvonne, I do have to run here, my dear, but
Okay.
thank you so much for calling on in. I appreciate your time and your shape-shifting stories. That's the first time I've talked with a shapeshifter before. So thank you so much.
Well, yeah. You're welcome, hon. Take care.
Take care. Thought of the Dave coming up right now. Thought of the Dave happens every single night on this show where I ask a question on my Facebook page, get you to answer, to see what you think about the topic that I choose. Got a little Ron Bumblefoot THAL, Cuterebra, playing in the background. I think I'm going to have to extend that. I think I cut it way too short. Way too short. But that's just me. That's just me. Today's Thought of the Dave. Have you ever had an experience with zombies or vampires? If so, tell me about it. I love it when you say, if so, tell me about it. And you get these people who answer like by 3 words. Robert states, I think the most common phenomenon is the deadwoods that everybody has probably come upon if you spent time in the woods. Could it be Indian burial grounds? Maybe something scared or sacred is probably what he's trying to say. Everything into silence? Who knows? But is that really zombie or vampires? I know up here there is First Nations burial grounds absolutely everywhere. Everywhere. And, you find those hallowed grounds, and I think you need to just chill and relax and run with it. You know what I'm saying? Go the other way. Go the other way. Kirk said, yep, I drive around them every day and they cannot be bothered to look both ways when pulling out and rarely use their signals properly before changing lanes. It's really infuriating. Don't even get me started with the vampires running my local municipal government. Now, if you knew Kurt's a good friend of mine. Tough as nails. One of the toughest hockey players that I ever met. I used to play hockey with his brother. Kirk and I were on opposing teams. We almost fought a couple of times. But we became pretty good friends. And, yeah. He always has something snarky and sarcastic to say. He should be on Twitter with the Twitter crowd. It's hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Anyhow, Adam says, zombie gnomes would be awesome. No, zombie gnomes would not be awesome. Let's just clarify that right now. Adam has a gnome addiction. That's why he's changed his name. He's filing the paperwork right now to change his name from Adam to Ad Gnome. To Ad Gnome. No, we don't need any zombie photos or zombie gnomes. That's just bullshit right off the bat right there. Yeah, I went there. We don't need that. Don't need that. Penny says on Periscope, I dated a few men that may as well have been zombies. They were that slow in the head. Now that's funny. That's funny. That is actually really funny. Let's get back to the thought of the Dave. Grant says, I've drawn them both, read books about them both, watch shows about them both. Conversely, if you meant real life or either, I've met people whom didn't know I was even there because their phone texting had them in a zombie-like state, and I've met people that drain my energy and life away just to be around them for any length of time. So you have my former mother-in-law too. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. People are more zombie-like with the cell phones. You do have to admit, people wondering, why am I not seeing any UFOs? Well, get your head away from your phone. It's just that simple. Get your head away from your phone. It does work. Look up in the sky. Tripp says, only zombies I've met were on bath salts. Have met and been invited to a couple of covens. Yeah, there are those weird videos out there, people who are eating like the bath salts and stuff. Is this what we can expect from the Tide Pod crowd? That's what I want to know. Is this what we can expect from the Tide Pod crowd when that Tide Pod chemical finally kicks in? We're gonna get zombie time on Tide Pods. I can see it now. Can you imagine the headlines on the National Enquirer? Tide Pod challenge causes teenagers to turn to zombies. My goodness, it could happen. Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show right here on the mighty SOR. Got a tweet tonight from his former guitar partner, DJ Ashba. That was kind of cool. Now, they were a good 1-2 tandem. Tomorrow night on the program, Linda Godfrey is going to join us. About 1989, she broke a story called The Beast of Bray Road. This has led to many stories and many investigations about the legendary Dogman. Oh, I'm in Canada. Dog People. Dog People. Tomorrow night on Spaced Out Radio, we're talking Dog People. Because in Canada, we're not allowed to say man anymore. Dog People, tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. I want to say a big thank you to Sharon Yvonne for calling in to Spaced Out Radio tonight, and for our guest the first 2 hours, Jackie Chin from Zombiepalooza Radio. You can pick up her book, Practicing Paranormal, on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Jackie's just a great, great person. Absolutely love her. So it was great to have her on the air. Don't forget, we also have our GoFundMe account going on right now. GoFundMe.com/We Own the Night. That's GoFundMe.com/We Own the Night. Help us build a brand new studio so we can go into the terrestrial radio realm very, very soon. Want to say a big thank you to everybody listening at home, listening in your cars. If you're at work, thanks for tuning out work and tuning us in. Also to everybody watching on Periscope.tv. I'm looking at you right now, Penny. Thank you for tuning on in. Everybody on Twitter, especially Mr. @Retired Skeptic. Marty, thank you for giving us an opportunity and having us some fun with us tonight. Everybody at hashtag Spaced Out Radio, everybody in the Spreaker chat room, and on the SOR Space Travelers Club, the Veterans Group, much fun to all of you, because together, my friends, we own the night. We'll talk to you in 21 hours from now. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Good night.